everybody, Baldoric here. Today we are going to be talking about Lorenz, the brand new Tempest Trial unit in Fire Emblem Heroes. Whether you are planning on using this unit because you like him from 3 houses, or you want to flex on people because he's wearing a speedo, I have some ideas on how to build this guy and how to use him in each of the different modes. Now, first we need to go over what his weapon is, because he does come with a new inheritable weapon, which is Conch Bouquet. During unit's first combat, in player phase or enemy phase, grants attack and res plus 5 to unit, and restores 7 HP after combat. So it is a good tanking weapon, tome. It does have utility. I do think it does have a place on him, because he does have a good res stat and okay attack stat, not great. But I think it's better suited on other units that have a better attack and res stat combination, that are in the red tome pool, that don't have their own refines quite yet. But I do think he is a good unit. Well, he's a decent unit. He's not a good unit, he's a decent unit. That I think does have some utility if you give him some different tomes. A prime example is my FEH build, which is using the red blade tome. And what's going to be interesting about this one, you want to give him as many bonuses as possible, and we're going to start off with the new Speed Res Solo. Now, Speed Res Solo actually works very well for him. Reason being is if you give him the summoner bonus, like I have now, pair him with Ear and Peony, which buff some of the stats that he needs. Speed and Res Solo is going to be putting an extra 6 on top of that, and keep in mind, bonuses are going to be applied to the Red Blade Tome, which makes it really good for actually his overall damage output, speed stat, and everything like that. And let's factor in using allies that are going to be able to support him, like let's say Red Mail Corrin, that are going to be giving a bunch of extra stats just for being close by. This unit will actually have a ton of bonuses on him at all times as long as you plan it this way, and it's going to be actually outputting quite a bit of damage. Now, the only thing about using a Red Blade Tome, though, is that it does up your cooldown charge for your special by 1. So Miracle goes from a 5 charge to a 6. So keep that in mind that you might want your Corrin to have an infantry pulse if you can out HP Lorenz with your build with him. Otherwise, it is difficult to use Miracle. You might just want to switch for something that's normally a 2, like Noontime or Glimmer, Moonbow, something like that, just so that it will go to a 3 charge, which 3 is a lot more manageable. That's up to personal preference. I personally think that Miracle actually is still going to perform okay, as long as your team is there to back him up and he is able to tank as many hits as he should. Keep in mind, though, his defense is not great, so he definitely would be used on a... if you're attacking, you want to use him against a tome-heavy team, okay? Other than that, he does run into an issue because he is red. Units like Ophelia are going to have no problem dealing with this unit, so please keep that in mind when you're running a team like this, is that you need to keep some of the meta units in mind, because that will cause problems for Lorenz. So I think he's in a tough spot, but I do think he can work depending on what team you are facing, okay? It does work. It's just a little dependent on what you're going against. Now, for arenas, we have something a little bit different, and keep in mind the tome here could definitely be a Red Blade Tome. 100% be Red Blade Tome. It could even be Conch Bouquet with the Speed Refine. The reason I am choosing the Raven Tome is for the colorless effectiveness. Now, the reason I am doing that is because in Arena, sometimes you're going to want to have something like this. A unit that can counter those gray, tankier units, or just gray units in general because they're giving you trouble. It really depends on the season. For example, on Earth season, you're going to be going against, there'll be female Fallen Corrins. There are Legendary Alm, as an example, which are both gray. Now, if you have a unit like this, and you give him an Earth Blessing, so you're using him on a Earth season, then he can counter some of those legendaries if you are having trouble with them. However, if you are not having trouble with gray units, or you have counters in different forms, switch this out to be either a Blade Tome, or if you want to use the Conch Bouquet with a Speed Refine, you could do that as well. Other things, I've obviously built him for max score. I'm still using Speed Res Solo, but it combos extremely well with the rest of his build. So, we have Attack Speed Solo 4, which gives 7 attack and speed. Speed Res Solo 3, which gives 6 speed and 6 res. So his res is up to 40, His speed is going up by 13, which puts his speed up to 50. His attack is going up to 55, and with joint hone attack, it goes up to 60. So depending on the people you have on your team that can possibly buff him even further, honestly, his stats get really high. So if you gave him that red blade tome, he's going to be out dealing out a lot of damage. Now, if you are doing that though, I don't know if you'd want to have the special spiral in that B slot. You might want to switch it out for something like a lull attack res, just to make sure you are pumping out more damage that way. So that would be the switch there. If you're going to use a blade tome, use lull attack res if you can do that, or even speed res would be fine. Because that way, with 50 speed, if you do speed res 2, you have a higher chance of doubling. So either of those work great. And because of attack and speed solo, joint hone attack, and speed res solo as well, you're going to be getting a lot of buffs, so the red blade tome works. I also just wanted to showcase why I think this Raven tome actually can work on him if you're doing it on the correct season, okay? And keep in mind that the Raven tome also has 1 less attack, so I should have factored that in. If you're using a blade tome, whatever I said was the maximum attack he had, +1, and that's what it will be. That is 1 more. So, something to keep in mind, it is a pretty powerful build. Honestly, you can use this kind of build with any red mage on any season. I just chose this guy in particular, or this build in particular, for Earth season because I think he actually does a pretty decent job countering some of those units. He does have a hard time against the Ulm. You would have to one-shot him, is basically how it goes. So it can work. A little bit of a one-trick pony, but it does work if you want to build him that way. Now, let's say you get a fresh Lorenz. You want to use it for fun because it's Lorenz and he's wearing a speedo. There's a decent budget build that I came up with that actually works pretty okay in some of my tests that I ran. So first off, it's your first combat of your turn, okay? So you're getting attack and res +5 because of his weapon. So you're up to 49 attack. You're attacking, so death blow goes off, +12. So 49 attack actually goes up to 61 attack. And if you are in desperation range, which you may not be because his weapon does give you that extra 7 HP after combat, which is kind of a difficult thing. But if you were in desperation range, you're hitting with 61 attack twice. And don't forget that you have Moonbow as well. Now, here's some things. This is a really cool build, and it does quite a bit of damage. That you can make him work just by having a build like this. Like, he can output quite a bit of damage and get some kills this way. The problem is that the Conch Bouquet, if you decide to use it, is actually going to be healing him out of desperation range, which is kind of hilarious. He kind of hurts himself by healing himself, which is a really weird thing to say, but it's true. So I would say if you're going to be doing a build like this, I chose Conch Bouquet because I thought it was fun. You might want to switch this out for something else. If you want to use something that's in the Heroic Grail pool, there's always Loyal Wreath, which can work fairly well if you want to do something like that. I think you just need to be next to an ally and you get 3 to stats. It's one of those kind of weapons. That can work, or you can try to invest in a different thing like a Red Blade Tome or something to that effect, and this build will work even better with something like that. Now, Attack Smoke 3 in the C slot is not 100% necessary. You could definitely just make this a support skill, you know, like a Hone Attack, a Drive Attack, Hone or Drive or Fort, of whatever you want. All of those will work just fine. If you wanted to go for straight damage, and you really want to maximize this guy's damage, like you want him hitting real hard with like no investment, give him an odd or even attack wave. I forget which one, but they're accessible in the Heroic Grail pool as well. So you can definitely build this guy to do a ton of damage, not have to worry about speed because of desperation, as long as you don't, you know, heal yourself back into non-desperation range. It's so weird to say that, but it can work. You can deal a lot of damage with this unit, which I honestly think is hilarious. But there you go. That's a way to use a budget build for him if you want to use him somehow. If you just want to flex on people, have a fun Aether Raid defense team, you could use something like this as well. And it could quite very well work as long as you get that first combat 1 kill just because you can. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked videos like this one, consider subscribing. I'm going to be putting out more videos just like this in the future. I have been working on streaming a little bit more. I just recently streamed a 350 orb pulling on the legendary Seliph banner. I almost said Alm. That was a while ago. Legendary Alm. I just said it again. Legendary Seliph banner, whatever one it is, which I actually did pretty good. So when I do those, I usually stream them. I was gonna do a highlight video, but we had some issues with the recording software, so didn't do it this time, but maybe next time. Follow my Twitter if you want to find more content like this. I retweet everything. I post units I'm working on, builds I'm working on, and my thoughts on builds and units, etc. I also retweet everything Fire Emblem Heroes. But that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.